end of season talk, and this year was, I'm going to say novel. It was different for me because of all the different things that happened that didn't have to do with my head in the sand and numbers and preservation of the sea turtle. It was more visibility and more attention than we've ever gotten, and that's a good thing. We started the season with our nest dedication, nest number 1. If you didn't come to the kickoff, it was dedicated to Scott Liggett, who was our past town engineer that passed away. And what's that? Oh, and Lou Ann is here. Happened to be there to find it, and it happened to be the first nest to hatch too, which normally does not happen. So we did the kickoff party, and then that was in April, and then we did some really great posters and things this year. We had some accommodations tax funding for that. So if you're not familiar with that, that is the 3% bed tax that gets charged for anyone who rents a room on Hilton Head to come on vacation here. And it helps the beach preservation fee. In other words, we have to re-nourish our beach every 8 to 10 years, and that's where that money comes from, a lot of it. And then any marketing that have to do with sea turtle preservation and marketing to get people interested in coming to Hilton Head. So that's number 1. If you haven't seen a body pit, it looks like a snow angel in the sand, and we start at 5 a.m. starting May 1st, and that's what we're looking for, is that track and the body pit. So if you haven't seen it, just go out at sunrise during the sea turtle nesting season, walk along the water's edge right there at the high tide line, and you should see that. When people don't see it, it surprises me. Unless there's wind or rain to blot out the tracks. So I know you've seen this graph, and I add to it every year, but you can see where we are up there. If I do an average for 22 years, it ends up being 293 nests a year. So around 300 is what we aim for. When we have these dips in the nesting density, it has to do with environmental things, like that one in particular in 2018 was after the snow event, Irma's snow event. And if the food source isn't there to make them feel robust, since they don't eat while they're nesting, they will skip the season that they are due back and join another population. So they nest every maybe 3rd year. Some of them skip 2 years, some of them skip 3, 4, 5. It's hard to predict. But typically it's 2. So that population joined, and 463 was our record year in 2019. Okay, so we're always competing with Kiowa, who is the next island up, with 10 miles of beach. We have 14. They had 483 nests this year on 10 miles of beach. That's what we should have. But until we make it dark and quiet, we will always have less than they do. They have a preserve that is beachfront, and most of their nesting happens there. If you don't know what this is, if you haven't seen a turtle talk, these are the individuals that we know of that nest. So for example, in 2016, when we had 411 nests, we had 161 individuals. And we know that by the DNA that we sample from every nest. So the work that goes into this is extreme. We go in, we may move them. We've moved 57% of them this year. We did, so that's I think it was like 241 nests that we moved. And that's involving hands and knees in the sand, digging the 2-foot hole, just like the female turtle dug her hole. And it takes her half an hour. It should take us less than that, but sometimes when it's hot and cold, or hot and deep, then we have a lot of work to do. So we had exposure with the Today Show, and this is something that just kind of fell into our laps. The Chamber organized it. They got the Today Show here. They called me and said, we'd like to go on turtle patrol with you for the Today Show. I'm like, really? Okay. And I thought they were coming to Hilton Head just to see the turtle patrol. I didn't know it was like a whole thing, right? And so they got here, we organized picking them up at the West End, and they said, okay, we've got maybe an hour and a half to do this. I need you to find a nest, preferably a nesting turtle. Because I was like, okay. moving down the beach, we had already sent a scout to the north end, and there was nothing there, so thank goodness we did that. And then we headed south of the folly, and we came across a nest almost immediately. And then the bottom dropped out, and it started raining. So we waited maybe about 10 minutes, and it stopped raining, and we got out, we found this nest. And it was really a great experience for all of these people from California and New York who had never seen anything like that, and they'd never seen the egg. And when Dylan Dreyer saw the egg, she was just beside herself. And the quote is great about, I'm just feeling so proud. And she took the words right out of my mouth because I felt proud too, and I've seen it a million times. But we got a lot of showtime on that. I think it was almost 4 minutes. And then Craig Melvin, who's one of the cast members, said, he's an anchor, said, the sea turtle is like the unofficial mascot of Hilton Head Island. And as soon as he said that, I took it and ran with it. Yes! National television, that is going to be my slogan from now on. So then the chamber got the bucket list family. And I'm not a big social media person. I actually have to pay somebody to boost our stuff, and our volunteers do Facebook and Instagram, and then we have people who will boost it, whatever that means. And so this is apparently a big deal, right? 2.6 million followers, this family that travels around to different destinations, and they were super nice and humble. You can find this on YouTube. They, we're just going out on tour patrol for the day. So it wasn't a whole lot of pressure, but they became very excited to find the nest, and their kids, of course, are excited that this happened.
4 a.m. What are we doing, Mom?
Oh, we got turtle patrol this morning. We're going to go look for turtles. The kids are fast asleep yesterday.
Oh, so you're still like we're a little jet lagged, but it's all good. Anything for turtles.
Right, let's go. Let's hop out. Anything for turtles. What a cool car.
Put it front and end gear.
Yeah.
Sometimes I lay under the moon. I thank God I'm breathing. And then I pray, don't take me soon. I am here for a reason.
Jess, look how cute this is. You ready?
Oh my gosh. 122.
122, 113.
How many did you guess?
100. 100!
But there's so many eggs, and one of them had a sign that says the bucket list family on it.
When the hatchlings come out, they'll be like, oh, we didn't know. People in Hawaii. Okay.
They lay 120 eggs per nest.
Perfect. 100. You guessed it spot on, babe. Good. 112.
Connected to the turtle.
And they take 50 days to hatch. 50 days to hatch. Yes.
When she digs, it's about this big around, and then it bowls out at the bottom like that.
Dorothy, you try.
You can't even reach the bottom.
Dorothy, see if you can reach the bottom.
Sometimes they get so deep, that we have to lay on our stomachs to get all the way down there.
Can you reach the bottom?
That's pretty cool, huh?
Oh, look above us, y'all. Look at the pelicans. Oh, a wonderful bird is a pelican. You see him? All of them, and there's a leader. Look at the leader.
Kelly, who's the leader in our family?
Roman army. Their formation.
Loggerhead turtles weigh up to 400 pounds. 1 out of 1,000 turtles survive to be a grown adult. It's important to turn off your lights at night so the turtles don't get confused. The turtles get confused when you light your lights at night.
what I have found over the years, and it has been many years, right? That was my 25th season. When going to town council, you have a kid do your dirty work, right? Because that's how things get. So my focus this year was not necessarily head in the sand numbers. It was all of these things that were going on that I hadn't normally paid attention to, but how could I not, now that I've been asked by the chamber and the town and everybody else to do this. And I'll explain a little bit more about that and the kids in a second. But this was the green that nested. So we've had 7 green sea turtles nest on Hilton Head in 30 years. And one of them was this year. We're still waiting on the DNA. And those CM numbers stand for Chelonia mitis, which is the genus species of the green sea turtle. And so we have at least 3 individuals that have nested in 7 nests in those years. So it's interesting to find out who comes here because their food source isn't really here. They're vegetarians. So they're probably accidentally born here. And they live in Florida or somewhere, and they have to swim all the way back up here to Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina to lay their eggs. But we've had 7 in 30 years. And you know, we've had 5 leatherbacks, 1 Kemp's Ridley, and then the rest are waterheads. I hope you know that. But the hatchlings are really different. Hatch August 24th, 132 eggs, 82% emergent success. So in 30 years, when we're all still here, we're going to go and look at those hatchlings that come back to Hilton Head. But the hatchlings are black with a white trim, which is totally different than the waterhead hatchlings if you've seen those. They're more brown in color. But we got a picture of her, so we knew it was a green before we got the DNA back to confirm it. So overall, we had 76% emergent success, which is a record for Hilton Head. That means more hatchlings came out of the sand per nest than we've ever had on average. And you can see the graph there. It got to a kind of a record low in 2017 or 18. And that was the year that I did that proposal for a research paper with the temperature probes. And part of the request was that we were able to move all of the nests that were on the ends of the island. So if you live between beach marker 1 and 12 in Sea Pines, or between markers 134 and 122 in Port Royal Plantation, there are no nests there because 80% of the nests left in those areas were less than 20% successful. So just immediately after we decided to move all those nests interior of those markers, it started to go up and up. I thought 72 was good. Now we're at 76. So whatever we did there worked. Also, we went out 2 years ago and took the GPS every 1/10 of a mile on the King High Tide. And so we were able to put that GPS line on our data map and look at it when we move nests. So we know how high the water gets at its highest mark, and we moved those above. And it was the first year that maybe we had 1 or 2 overwashed nests that were affected with overwash. A nest can be overwashed. It just can't sit underwater. Like water can flow over the nest, and with sand, it goes through that sand, right? That's why you have to water your lawn so much around here, because it's all sand. It's not that thick soil that holds moisture. So when the water passes by the eggs, that's fine. It just can't sit in that water. So when I did some more data analysis for this year, I found that 50 nests had less than 50% emergent success. And that's not too bad. I mean, we had a really great year this year in so many regards, but more than half of it was in a 1-month span where it would have stopped development. So that's kind of hard to understand. I get that, but there's something that happened in that 1-month span that would have stopped the development at the level that we saw. So we opened eggs to see if they died late development or early development, and they were all early development, I'm going to say for the most part, and that would mean that something happened to all of them at the same time. And what could that be? Well, do you guys remember this day here? July 14th. So we had a rain bomb that was very significant. It was And that's a term now that we use in science, a rain bomb. It's actually a term if you hear it. But we had a tremendous amount of rain all at the same time. And when the beach gets saturated with water, it starts to fill from the bottom up. So I believe, and I need to look at it a little bit closer, but I believe the eggs on top probably did better than the eggs on the bottom if we could measure that. Some of them had mold on them and that sort of thing. So they would have stopped developing and started to decompose. So there's nothing I can do about these rain events and climate change at the moment. And so moving the nests are going to help us tremendously with water inundation, but rain I can't do anything about. So hopefully we won't get too many of those. So we have strandings. Stranding means dead or alive, so we have mostly dead strandings that could be boat strikes, plastic ingestion, entanglements, swallowed the hook and didn't make it for whatever reason. But usually when we get the live ones, we can have them to the hospital very quickly in Charleston. That's the Sea Turtle Care Center. And we can rehabilitate them. And these 3 did make it, all 3 that we took. The first one was Mercury, and she was the first patient of the year from Hilton Head or anywhere. And it had those green sea turtle fibropapillomatosis, and that's a herpes virus that happens in the green sea turtles. So it must have something to do with their diet since it's very particular to plants. And that bioaccumulation of maybe fertilizers or something. We rarely see that in a loggerhead. And Bia was a loggerhead, and she had debilitated turtle syndrome, which is just a fancy term for we don't know what it was. But it was very sick. And she's recovering too. You can see her on display at the hospital. And then Joe, Kip's Ridley swallowed a hook, and that happens quite a bit. I'm surprised we didn't get more than just the one this year that went up there. Because sometimes you can get it out, but if it swallows the hook, you can't. So we were lucky there. The dead strandings, we had 13 of those. Just one a couple days ago was a loggerhead. So 2 loggerheads, 4 Kemp's Ridleys, and 7 greens. If you see an orange X, Kim puts a heart on their shell. But anything spray painted, it is not graffiti. Okay, we got a call from the police department. Are you graffitiing? That's purple. You've seen graffiti on a turtle shell. No. It's not graffiti, but the Department of Natural Resources wants us to do that so that when they get the call on the hotline, you know, we've got a dead turtle on Hilton Head Beach, they can say, well, does it have an orange X? And if it does, that means we've already measured it, we've taken the DNA from it, we've arranged for it to be buried or not. It just gives us a little bit of organization. So if you see that, that's what that is. That's a Kemp's Ridley, by the way. And usually that's a boat strike. Predation, we normally don't have animal predation. What kind of predation do we have? Walks on 2 legs. People, you know, just don't know better, think they know, and maybe don't. So a fox this year, we've had a coyote before, but it only lasted for 1 season because coyotes are not native, so they'll take care of that if it's becoming a problem. And we didn't see coyotes after that year, but this year, this fox, so coyotes have a long range. They could run the whole 14 miles of beach in one night. So we've had nests predated on the north end and the south end in the same night from the same animals. And this one, the fox, is very specific. It will only go between beach markers 119 and 120, 10th of a mile, and it lives in Port Royal Plantation. And it's obviously inexperienced because it goes into nests that have already hatched and we've inventoried them, and then we'll put it back together and then it'll go in it again, like it forgot short-term memory. I don't know. But they listen for the hatchlings, the vibration of the hatchlings coming out of their shell, and they're after the hatchlings versus eggs, which we may have experienced with the coyotes a little bit in the past. So we'll have to learn to deal with that if it happens again. What we do is we put It looks like chain link fence, but it's plastic over the top of it, so when they try to dig through it, they can't get anywhere. And that's supplied to us by the Department of Natural Resources, and now a personal grant from a resident in Port Royal Plantation, because we didn't have enough of them. So we're very lucky to be in a community that supports this program, particularly the beachfront communities who want to see us succeed. And ways that we succeed are money for fuel, money for insurance and maintenance on vehicles and that sort of thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It has to do with our fundraiser section. You can get to this page. Anyone in the public can get to this page. And I am assuming if you are a turtle tracker by now, you have a seaturtle.org account. If you don't tell me. Just do it. It's email, make a password, and you can go in there, and they're not emailing you or trying to take any sort of information, but that separates your data from my data. Because if I had hundreds of people going in and messing with what I had entered, that might be a problem as well. So we're gonna just give you the numbers, and that's exaggerated over here, but it's neat to see that we had 47,671 eggs, for example. And the computer does that math, not me, so don't give me any subject kudos for that. Our incubation was around 56 days, so just shy of that 60 days. And the nest, the clutch size was a little bit smaller than average. It was 113 eggs versus the 120 that we're used to. But that hatch success and that emergent success was enormous, and that's what I focus on. How many hatchlings made it out of the hole? And then, I've said this several times, my job is to get those hatchlings from the hole to the water, right? With a master's degree, from the hole to the water. And that is where turtle trackers come in with their filling holes, picking up the trash, knocking the sandcastles down, talking to the tourists to kind of get them on board with using their red flashlights and things like that if they're going to go out at night seeking to see hatchlings or nesting females. These are pictures that I took one morning that this one is mine. I think that might be Holly. But we just like to see those baby tracks, and y'all know that this is a small hatchling. About the size of the palm of my hand, maybe 1 in 100 once they hit the water make it to the Gulf Stream, and we know that 1 in 1,000 make it back from a research study that was done, and I'm sure it's changing all the time. 1 in 1,000 make it back for 30 years of sexual development and can reproduce. So this might be familiar to you, this sign, and if you've lived here for more than, I don't know when these went into effect, but the no sign that was before this no sign. Does anybody remember that one? Okay, so it was white, it was the same size, and it had a big no on it, like that big. And it said, do not do this, do not do this, do not do this. And it was a little harsh, so the town thought, well, let's make it a little bit more user-friendly, and we'll be nice about it. But this is all that's about sea turtles that's on it. It's mostly dogs, and when you can have your dog on the beach. But it just says that sea turtle nesting season is May through October, and it says, please respect their habitat, which is kind of, might as well leave that out. And then lights out after 10 p.m., which is not enough stuff. You know, we've added quite a bit of ordinances to our municipal code, and we need to add that turtle. So that's what this is. This is my prototype for the sign that I want to see underneath the new no signs that they're producing. So anything turtle related would go on a sign like this. So, you know, the ordinance that was produced in November of 2019, what does that say? The holes and the personal property. So a hole in Hilton Head can't be deeper than a foot. It can't be dug with a metal shovel. The shovel can't be bigger than 30 inches, and you must fill it in before you leave. So easy to enforce, right? No, but it's there in case we need it later. And then that same ordinance says anything personal property left on the beach after sunset will be removed. So there's a contractor that picks that up, and y'all know who that is. And that is why I happened to be on the beach that night, and I happened to have the Bucket List family cell phone number. And I said, y'all, I know you didn't get to see a turtle on Turtle Patrol, but there's one right outside of your beachfront rental. If you want to come with me, I will take you, a tenth of a mile down the beach, and we can go observe that respectfully. And so they did, and that made it to that very prolific Facebook media, social media event. So that's good. We'll see how that goes. It just takes a while to get these signs produced, and hopefully with the lighting ordinance, which was also redone in March of 2021, and that has a lot to do with the turtle trackers and the Sea Turtle Patrol going to town council, having ordinances rewritten over again, and convincing them that we really need this. So the original ordinance was written in 1990 when the first beach renourishment happened, and they kind of just cut and paste from a different city, and it has grown. The sea turtle biology has matured over time, so we had to update it. The original one just dealt with the second floor, and it didn't say anything about interior lights or new construction. And two of our code enforcement officers are here today, and they go out on Saturday nights to look at lighting. And I took this picture, which is really amazing. They're lighting up their neighbors' houses, as well as that, and that's mostly interior. Well, that one's exterior, but there's another picture where the interior lights seem like exterior lights because it's glass all the way down the front. So the homes have changed, the dunes have changed. So we had the verbiage changed to light that can be seen from the beach. Before it mentions reflecting on sand, and that's almost impossible to recreate unless you're having stadium lighting pointing at the ocean. So we did that, and we have had great success. Well, we've had some success. Lighting ordinance violations are down this year, but we still have misorientations. And there's different reasons for that. It's mostly lighting, but in some sections of beach, hatchlings hatch sooner in the night because of what? Is it the darkness that it's the temperature. So when you're in Port Royal Plantation and the sand grains are larger and there's air spaces, it's not as compact as sea pines, then the temperature drops quicker in those air spaces versus the Barrett Shoals Barter Pit where the renourishment sand comes from, and sea pines where it's very fine sand grains and they get compact. So it takes longer for the sand to cool down and the hatchlings come out a little bit later. So in Port Royal Plantation, where we have a lot of misorientations, it's not because their lights are on after 10, it's because the hatchlings hatch at 9 o'clock, which is our fault. Anyway, 63% of the misorientations were in Palmetto Dunes. We have to address that. We have mostly beachfront rental in Palmetto Dunes now. If you live there, we've approached POA, but most of these are under the control of POA, and they've done a lot of things to try to help us as far as requiring the signage inside the beachfront rentals and that sort of thing. But if someone doesn't look at a sign, how effective is it? One of our turtle trackers in Palmetto Dunes created this little light screen, which we did get permission from the state to use, and it was effective here. So blocking the light from behind, and we only use those in Palmetto Dunes, and you'll only see those predator screens in Port Royal Plantation. 19 of those. Speaking of signs and their effectiveness, this is at Forest Beach, and our Forest Beach Turtle Tracker lead is here, and she knows what the frustration can be in her neck of the woods, because that's where all the action is. That's a concentrated tourist place to be, and we get things like this all the time, and things meant to pick up trash only collect trash, and that I could have told you that was going to happen, and I did say this is what's going to happen, and now I have photo proof that it does. So instead of taking the basket and picking up trash and putting the trash in the appropriate receptacle, you either hang the bag and hang it back up with the trash in it, or just put trash as you pass by. So although the town feels like this was a very successful program, I have told them that it is not. Okay, so my truck and trailer. In 2020, I had a steel trailer that lasted for 2 years on the beach before it completely rusted out. And so when I ordered a new one, it didn't come in right away, and I used my truck only, and so there's tents hanging out the window, and I looked like Sanford and Son down the beach. But I was able to get it all on there, and then the trailer came. But those numbers are what I collected this year, and believe me, that's so much better than it has been. So 728 chairs, 106 tents, those are the pop-up tents, and 644 toys. Now, what do we do with those toys now? Anybody? Toy bins, toy borrow bins, and there are several the town built and had installed. The first one was a collaborative effort, Turtle Trackers and Sea Turtle Patrol in the town at Islanders Beach Club was the first one, and some of the hotels have decided to get together and do their own borrow bin, which is nice. But what it does is we collect the toys, put them in the borrow bins, and instead of going out and buying a whole new batch of toys, you just take the ones that we picked up, and then you leave them on the beach again, and I'll pick them up again, and then borrow. Yeah, but whatever, it works, and it's less plastic being purchased. But you'll see the colors represent a year, and the towels seem to be, this is my front yard with the towels. And I leave the towels in my front yard because somebody comes by, picks them up, launders them, and then takes them to the animal shelters in the area. So all of the towels got reused, and if they were really nice beach towels, I kept it and washed it myself, and then we auctioned those out at one of our events. So the Turtle Tracker kickoff last year, we auctioned off all those towels that were super nice, for like $20 a piece, right? So 1,428 towels in 2022. Luckily, the tents, this was going to be a mission of mine, the tents, to get them banned from Hilton Head Beach. But it seems like people are starting to understand that they don't really work when the wind blows and they can't put it back together, right? It has to stay there, that they lose their tent anyway. So, you know, the shibumi is more expensive, or the spandex tent, like I say, are the preferred. Yeah. That's a lot of times. Okay, so Turtle Talks. We had a lot of success in so many ways this year, but the Turtle Talks really blew up at Celebration Park. This is every Monday night in June, July, and August. I give this one. It's a free public talk. Turtle Trackers come. They take zip codes down to find out how many people are from where and what, so that we can present to the town. Look, this is who we educated. This is where they're from. We attract people. I think it was all but 5 states that we contacted. That's me with the arrow pointing. It's so tiny. And the television is 72 inches, but it looks like a little tiny thing. So I'm hoping that the town will put some AV in that establishment that everybody can use, not just Turtle Patrol, but some sort of bigger screen and a projector so that we can really get that information out. So we ended up with 6,686 participants, which, you know, if you're a turtle tracker and you're shaking your head, you're like, yeah, we did. It was a lot to manage, and 160 talks at 9 locations, so different resorts host turtle talks, and they are part of our sea turtle friendly designation. And the Marriott Grand Ocean is one that's really active, and all of the vacation rental Marriotts participate. Some of the hotels aren't doing the greatest job, particularly the one with the blue and white striped towels. We're not going to mention that one, but we're going to have a meeting about that real shortly, and hopefully they'll get back on board with it. Beach turtle talks are very popular as well. You wouldn't think that someone just wants to stand there and listen to a Turtle Patrol person talk about turtles, but that's Kim in the middle doing that. And I'm not sure if it was an organized talk or if it was just one of those days where we're at the beach and people just gravitate to the truck and they have a million questions. Because this can happen every morning on Turtle Patrol. It's really crazy. We know the interest is there. We need to make it the mascot, the sea turtles, and hopefully have an establishment one day where we can take people in and they can come to us while we're not working. That's okay with Kim, because she'll stay there for like all day long. If you let her. Okay. So what I noticed this year is that I was being watched, and I didn't really ever pay attention to this. I did not raise kids. I like kids. I can be with kids and they love me, and I can do this for 45 minutes at a time, just really involved. But when I have like big groups of kids, I do this on my boat, and I can do that for 45 minutes. But then I have to let somebody else take over. But the looks on their faces when they're doing, wanting to do what we're doing. So I never realized that this one right here. I mean, I'd be on Turtle Patrol and I'd turn around and there he is. It's like there he's everywhere. He's watching me everywhere I go, and it's such a great compliment. This is Tana. She's a turtle tracker, and she dressed up like me for Halloween. I'm assuming that's a compliment. It is. I think it is a compliment. Probably the best compliment I've ever gotten. But she really is impressed with what we do out there. And like I said, when I figured out that when kids ask for trash can holders, they get them like that. And town council's like, yes. And I can stand there all day and say trash cans are blowing over and picking up trash all day on the beach. This is a problem. We got to secure those trash cans. And they're like, okay, Amber, we get it. I work on it. And then the little kids come out with their paper and they start talking in that voice, and they get everything they want. It's like, I'm going to hop on that. So the Turtle Trackers have come up with an education committee, and remember this is our sister organization, and most of you are Turtle Trackers, but they're going to go into the schools and for the young children, just really tell them how important it is to do their part. And if the kid tells the mom to do it, then it'll probably happen. So we are hoping that if we take this route, we will get some sort of results. I think we will, yeah. And you see this starting to pop up everywhere. So if you participated in the TEDx, actually it was the first speaker of the first TEDx that we had on Hilton Head. So I have some kind of a connection to this. But when I looked at the O in Hilton, I was like, yes. I didn't do that. That just happened. So a lot of these things I start to notice, people really want to embrace it. And the passion that I have, I know everybody doesn't have, but a lot of the Turtle Trackers do, or they wouldn't pick up trash all day long and come to our talk and see the same talk over and over and over and still answer questions. So I'm really fortunate with that. And we did go to the Concord d'Elegance with our ambulance. And those of you who have never seen this ambulance, I'm surprised because I've had it for a long time. I bought it from a mom and pop car lot in Charleston, and it made it home. And that was like the first win, right? And then Springer Mountain Chicken Farms and some others donated money to have it wrapped. The wrap is worth more than the 1993 Ford 350 with 100,000 miles on it. But we've gotten a lot of use out of this as an educational vehicle. It was bought to take turtles to Charleston that were larger, that didn't fit in our car. And I have taken a few larger turtles to Charleston and hope to make it back home, and it did. But I prefer to keep it local. And when we went to the Concord, there were tons of people there that I recognized, but they didn't recognize me. And I thought, what is going on here? And then I realized that I wasn't in a blue shirt and khaki pants. Yeah, I had no idea. This is my best disguise. I need to blend in, that's what it is. Okay, so off season, people are like, Amber, you're gonna have time to sit on the beach, have a beer, take a deep breath. Like, I know. This is when it gets really hard. Because on the beach, I've done that for more than half my life. I can do that with my eyes shut. I can get that done. I know what to do. But now it's like, oh gosh, who do we ask for money? How do we do this? And we did apply for our accommodations tax money, which we got our full ask. Yeah, and that presentation could not have happened. A lot of number crunching because that's what they want to see. How many people did you touch with social media? How many people did you touch with your turtle talks? How many people did you see on the beach? Well, if they didn't scan our truck and the QR code, we might not know, but we have to estimate. And Kathy Sanders was a member of our team, and she helped me put that together, and that was an amazing presentation. And when I gave the presentation, it happened to be really funny that day. I don't know, sometimes it happens. And the committee was dying laughing at me, and it was just, I was tired, and I was just like, you know this is worth it. You know it is. Just, I'm gonna get through this presentation. You're gonna give me what I'm asking for, and I can prove it that it works. And so we did. We got our $65,000, which we can spend on marketing and getting tourists over the bridge to see maybe turtles on their vacation. And that is not my goal, right? More tourists necessarily, but getting the ones that do come over educated enough and paying that money so we can continue to educate them and produce videos and things like that to have them then have the knowledge to go somewhere else. They can use that knowledge on other coastal communities. Our nest dedication program, we're doing a special for Christmas where you can go online and get a nest dedication and get an ornament that comes with it. That is one of our biggest fundraisers. Next to the local grants, there's some family foundations that we don't even know who they are. A lot of them that donate to us, and that's what keeps us going with our vehicles and such. But the nest dedication program is a big part of that. And then the DNA program is something that I just mentioned because we get a lot of information, interesting information from that. Myrtle is one of the interesting things that we get from that. Knowing when they nest, when their injury may have happened, like Stumpy nested fine in 2012, and then in 2017 she came without a flipper. So we know she skipped 5 years to heal with that flipper. That's great information, but Mira Scott, who's a local artist, did this children's book that you could get at Coastal Provisions at Calippi or Poseidon, and it has a donation associated with it. So when you buy the book, we get a percentage. I wrote the prologue. It's a super cute book. We don't necessarily condone mermaids and interacting with hatchlings, but maybe it happens. I don't know, but the kids really enjoy this book, and the art in it is beautiful. And then these things, right? This is Bill Schmidt right here. He created our QR code and gave us these little nifty things. So if you have on your phone something called NFC, Near Field Communication, which you probably have it on automatically, when you tap the phone, our landing page comes up. And he did that for us where we can direct people to different parts of our website. Bill is here tonight. I don't know if he's still here. He's heard me speak several times in the back. And he's very good with technology, and so we appreciate him tremendously. I took this video. It was the last hatchling I saw on the beach. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. I was really having my moment with it. It's the end of the season, and there it goes. Until next year. See you in 30 years. Good luck. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming.